Thank you for taking the time to listen and share these special moments with us. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this story and share it with your friends to help spread these meaningful messages. One peaceful morning in the small town where the streets are quiet and the old houses stand as silent witnesses to time passing. Chloe was taking her usual walk after leaving the cafe where she worked. She had been spending more time with Milo lately, noticing the small but important steps the dog was taking to overcome his past fears. Milo was starting to trust her more, and Chloe felt that their bond was growing stronger with each passing day. As Chloe walked toward the town's park, a familiar sight stopped her in her tracks. Near the entrance of the schoolyard, she noticed a group of people standing together with a young boy in the front. At first, Chloe thought nothing of it, but as she got closer, she saw the boy's eyes widen in surprise. He suddenly gasped, pointing excitedly. "Milo, it's Milo!" the boy shouted. Chloe stopped in her tracks, her heart skipping a beat. Her mind raced as she watched the boy rush forward with a look of recognition in his eyes. She felt a wave of shock and confusion hit her. The boy's voice, filled with emotion, rang in her ears as he knelt to greet Milo. The boy. Emiliano looked exactly as Chloe had imagined him from the stories. His eyes were wide with joy and relief. And as he reached out for Milo, the dog seemed to recognize him as well. Milo stood still, watching Emiliano approach. But instead of running away, he slowly walked toward him. Chloe couldn't believe what she was seeing. For a brief moment, Chloe felt a pang of guilt mixed with uncertainty. She had spent so much time caring for Milo, and now faced with the possibility of returning him to the family that had once abandoned him. Her heart ached. She was happy to see the joy in Emiliano's eyes, but at the same time she wondered if Milo would be truly happy going back to a family that had let him go so easily. The family, noticing Chloe's hesitation, approached her with kind but earnest expressions. Emiliano's mother spoke up, her voice sincere and regretful. "Chloe, we can't express enough how sorry we are for what we did," she began. "We made a terrible mistake leaving Milo behind. He was part of our family and we never should have abandoned him. We know now that he deserves better and we want to take him back, not out of obligation but out of love. We want to make it right." Chloe stood silently for a moment, her thoughts a whirlwind of emotions. She looked at Emiliano, who had already crouched down and was gently petting Milo. Milo seemed to respond to the boy's touch, his tail wagging softly. It was clear that there was still a bond between them, despite the past. But Chloe's heart weighed heavily. She had come to love Milo deeply over the time they had spent together. They had shared moments of connection that felt irreplaceable. Milo had started to trust her again, and their bond had become something special, something she didn't want to lose. Chloe faces a difficult decision. Chloe felt torn. Milo had found comfort in her home, and she had put so much time and effort into helping him heal. But now, facing the possibility of him returning to Emiliano's family, Chloe wasn't sure what the right choice was. She knew Milo belonged with someone who would love and care for him, but the idea of him going back to a family that had once let him down troubled her. Chloe took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. She looked at Emiliano and his family, their eyes full of remorse and hope. The mother's expression was one of genuine sorrow, but there was also a sense of urgency to make things right. "Milo has been through a lot," Chloe said softly, looking at the dog. "He's changed so much in the time he's spent with me, and I've come to care for him deeply." She paused, then continued, her voice steady. "But what matters most to me is that Milo is happy that he's loved and cared for. If returning him to your family is the right thing to do, I'll respect that decision. He deserves to be where he will thrive." Chloe felt her heart heavy with the weight of the decision she was making. She knew it wouldn't be easy to say goodbye to Milo, but she also understood that love meant doing what was best for him, even if that meant letting him go. The story ends with a positive turn. Finally, after much thought, Chloe made her decision. She could see that Milo and Emiliano had a special bond, one that could help Milo continue his healing journey. While Chloe would miss him terribly, she knew that returning him to the family who truly cared for him was the right choice. "Milo," Chloe whispered, kneeling next to him, "it's time for you to go home to the place where you truly belong." She turned to Emiliano, who was watching her with wide, hopeful eyes. "He's yours," Chloe said, her voice breaking slightly, "but I want you to promise me one thing. Keep loving him like you did before. He deserves nothing less." Emiliano nodded eagerly, his eyes welling up with tears. "I promise. Thank you for everything. I won't let him down again." Milo looked up at Chloe one last time, his eyes filled with trust and love. As Emiliano carefully lifted Milo into his arms, the dog seemed to relax, no longer struggling. He had found his family again, and Chloe knew that he would be loved there. With a final kiss on Milo's head, Chloe watched as the family walked away. Milo nestled in Emiliano's arms. A small part of her felt a sense of loss, but it was also mixed with a deep sense of relief. Milo would be okay. He would be happy, and that was all she ever wanted for him. Chloe smiled softly to herself as she turned and walked back home. She had done the right thing, and she knew that Milo would always remember the love and care she had given him. Chloe's continuing journey. Chloe's life returned to a familiar rhythm, but her heart had been changed by the love she had shared with Milo. She continued her work at the cafe and spent time with the animals she cared for, but there was a quiet satisfaction in her heart. She had learned something invaluable from her time with Milo, that love, kindness, and patience could heal even the deepest wounds. Chloe's story became one that others in the town would tell for years to come. People would come to her for advice on rescuing and caring for abandoned animals. Chloe would share her experience, emphasizing that every creature deserves a second chance no matter what their past holds. The lessons she had learned from Milo about forgiveness, compassion, and unconditional love stayed with her, and she made it her mission to teach others about the power of empathy. Chloe knew that even small acts of kindness could change a life, and she would continue to be a beacon of light for the animals and people in her community. As for Milo, though, he had left her home. The bond they shared would always remain. Chloe knew that no matter where he went, they would always be part of each other's story, and that she thought with a smile was the greatest gift of all. They were often considered creatures that couldn't be saved. People believed they didn't deserve love or care. They thought these animals could never fully recover, and therefore no one wanted to interfere with their lives. Chloe felt the loneliness in her heart as she saw the concerned looks of the people in the town. They didn't understand her, didn't understand why she decided to help Milo. "Chloe, do you really think this dog can change?" Such words echoed in her head as she passed by the townspeople. They didn't know that for Chloe, every creature deserved a second chance. She couldn't bear to see Milo abandoned once more. As the days passed, Chloe grew tired and sometimes felt like giving up. The challenges she faced grew larger. She wondered if she had enough strength to help Milo overcome his fears. There were nights when she sat alone in her room watching Milo sleep on the warm bed she had prepared for him, and wondered if her efforts were enough to change the fate of this little dog. At those times she felt exhausted, but the images of Milo, the little dog still waiting for someone to come and rescue him, were the motivation that kept her from giving up. On weekend mornings, when Chloe took Milo for walks around the town, she began to notice small changes. Milo began to get closer to Chloe, no longer running away or avoiding her. The dog started to glance at her curiously, though still with some fear. Chloe knew that even though Milo hadn't completely trusted her yet, at least he was starting to feel safe. One day when Chloe took Milo to the park, the dog suddenly ran up and sniffed around her legs. Chloe couldn't believe her eyes. This was the first time Milo had actively approached her, and the first time during their time together that Chloe felt a real connection with the little dog. Chloe's heart was filled with joy and happiness, but she knew this journey wasn't over. The story of Milo and Chloe did not end easily. It was a long journey filled with challenges and patience. But it was also on this journey that Chloe realized love and patience could change everything, even when Milo's eyes hadn't fully forgotten the pain of the past. The days Chloe spent caring for Milo passed slowly with little outward change. Milo still kept his distance, avoiding all the contact despite Chloe's best efforts to make him feel safe, even though she could feel his patience and love. Milo always kept an invisible barrier, not allowing her to get too close. Every time she tried to pet the dog, it would retreat, its eyes full of doubt and even fear. Yet one morning, the soft light filtered through the window, the first rays of the new day sweeping across the glass, Milo suddenly did something Chloe could never have imagined. After Chloe had just fed him breakfast, and when she turned back to tidy up, Milo stood up from his warm bed and unexpectedly approached Chloe. This time it wasn't avoiding her, it was reaching out. Chloe stood still, her heart racing with emotion. Milo slowly walked toward her without the panic he had shown in previous encounters. When they were only a few steps away, Milo stopped and looked at Chloe. His eyes no longer held fear. Instead, they held curiosity and hope. Chloe gently knelt and extended her hand, but not hurriedly. She knew that even though Milo had approached her, he could still change his mind at any moment. But this time there was no retreat. Milo stood still, his eyes lighting up as though waiting for Chloe's acceptance. Chloe didn't say anything, just gently stroked the scruffy coat of Milo. At first, Milo was still a little tense, but after a few seconds, the dog relaxed and his eyes were filled with trust. Chloe could feel a huge change in Milo. This wasn't just a physical step closer. It was a major step in the healing journey of his soul. Chloe couldn't stop smiling. This was the sign she had been waiting for all along. She knew this was a crucial moment, a turning point, a moment of opening for Milo. After all the days, finally Milo had dared to trust her. After giving Milo a little more food, Chloe led the dog outside into the yard. Today was the first day Milo ran joyfully. He began to get excited about the space around him, happily chasing the leaves blowing in the wind and playing with the little balls Chloe had prepared for him. However, even though Milo had gradually regained his joy and confidence, there was still an invisible loneliness in his heart. While he was no longer afraid, the wounds in Milo's soul hadn't completely healed. Chloe noticed that even though Milo had become happier, there were moments when he reverted to a contemplative state, his eyes filled with silent sorrow. Chloe knew that no matter how much Milo played and began to embrace love, his past still haunted him. Chloe decided to learn more about Milo. She knew that in order to help Milo overcome the pain in his heart, she needed to understand more about his past. After several conversations with people in the town, she happened to meet a neighbor of the family who had abandoned Milo. She asked about Milo's background, and this person began to tell a heartbreaking story. Milo had once had a family and everything had been fine at first. But one day when this family moved away, they decided not to take Milo with them. They just left him in a box, just like Chloe had found him. They didn't leave an explanation, not a word of goodbye. They simply abandoned Milo, even though before that, Milo had always been a well-behaved, loving dog, devoted to that family. They only left behind the note that Chloe had read, simply saying, "I can't take care of him anymore. He doesn't deserve my love." That story hit Chloe like a knife to the heart. She couldn't understand how anyone could act so cruelly, especially when Milo had given all his loyalty and love to that family. Chloe couldn't believe that these people could abandon an innocent creature like Milo just because they no longer wanted him, but it also helped her understand the deep pain Milo had gone through. It was a pain that couldn't be healed in a short time, no matter how much he had started to play or accept love. Chloe couldn't let Milo live forever in that loneliness and pain. She knew that even though the wounds in his heart wouldn't easily heal, love and care could help heal them. It was Chloe's patience and love that had helped Milo regain a part of his trust in humans. But to fully heal it would take time, perseverance, and understanding. Milo's story was no longer just the story of an abandoned dog, but also a story of suffering, sacrifice, and forgiveness. Chloe didn't just help Milo change. She also realized that she was finding healing in her own life. While Milo, with his wounds from the past, had become a symbol of sacrifice and loyalty. She felt that Milo's healing journey was also her journey. She realized that no matter how hard she tried, Milo could not change just because someone loved him. Milo's past, the wounds he had suffered, would remain a part of his life that couldn't be changed. Chloe's love for Milo wasn't just pure affection. It was a sacrifice, a promise never to give up, never to leave Milo alone. Every day, Chloe taught Milo to trust humans again, and in doing so, she learned how to trust herself. She couldn't change Milo's past, but she could help him build a better future. Chloe also couldn't help but feel the change within herself. She had lost faith in many things in life, but seeing Milo change, she felt her heart grow warmer. Milo's tears, his first steps filled with doubt, his sighs full of sorrow, these things had made her realize that every creature deserves love and care, no matter what their past is. One afternoon, as Chloe sat next to Milo in the yard, she saw the dog lift his head, his eyes no longer filled with fear as before. She knew that Milo had begun to trust her, but she also knew that his journey was far from over. She promised Milo that she would never give up, no matter how many hardships he had to face, and that she would always be there by his side, helping him overcome every challenge. Though Milo had started to trust Chloe, she knew that his journey was still long. Every day, Chloe dedicated time to caring for Milo, not just physically, but emotionally. Although Milo had learned to integrate into Chloe's small family, there were still moments when Milo looked out the window, his eyes distant as if searching for something lost. Chloe knew that Milo could not forget the painful past he had gone through, but she also knew that she was helping him create a brighter future. Milo's story wasn't just a journey of overcoming fear, but a testament to the power of patience and love. Even when there were times when Chloe felt exhausted and wondered if she could help Milo fully overcome his past pain, she remained resolute. For her, Milo wasn't just a dog, but a companion on a healing journey. They were both walking together. One morning, as Chloe and Milo were strolling through the park, Chloe noticed a small but noticeable change in Milo. The dog was no longer shy or fearful when encountering strangers. Instead, Milo began to approach new people eagerly, accepting their attention, though still maintaining a certain distance. Chloe smiled, seeing that her efforts were starting to pay off. Milo was no longer the confused, pitiful dog she had first met. He had started to believe in this world, a world no longer filled only with abandonment and coldness. However, despite the progress, Chloe couldn't shake the feeling of unease in her heart. She knew that the wounds in Milo's heart wouldn't heal instantly. Sometimes when the dog stared off into the distance, Chloe felt as though Milo was remembering his painful past. She wanted to do everything she could to help him forget that past, but she understood that time was the only thing that could help Milo find peace within himself. One day, as Chloe sat next to Milo in the yard, she noticed the dog having a strange reaction. Milo stared at the window with a look of suspicion in his eyes. Chloe stood up, approached him, and placed a hand on his back. "Are you okay, Milo?" she asked softly, her voice warm and gentle. Milo turned to look at Chloe, his eyes still shining, but filled with anxiety. Chloe knew this was a sign of the tension that Milo couldn't hide. She sat down, comforting the dog, reminding herself that every step Milo took, no matter how small, was an achievement worth celebrating. Chloe decided to find a way for Milo to forget his past and to let the dog experience a new life. When, free of sorrow, she took Milo to a new area of the park where many other dogs played. Milo seemed unfamiliar with the new surroundings, but was also curious. Chloe decided to give Milo the chance to interact with other dogs, knowing it would be an important part of helping him overcome his past. At first, Milo kept his distance, just standing there and watching from afar. The other dogs were happily running and playing with one another, while Milo stood still, observing. Gradually, a large dog named Buddy, a friendly and affectionate Labrador, came up to Milo and started playing with him. Despite some hesitation, Milo carefully approached Buddy. The story changes instantly as Milo, for the first time, plays with another dog. Chloe stood at a distance, feeling the change in her dog. She knew that Milo was slowly learning how to communicate with new friends and no longer feared interacting with them. From then on, Chloe took Milo to the park every day to meet new friends. The dog no longer avoided people but began joining in games with the other dogs. Chloe felt happy seeing Milo gradually integrate into the world around him, and she knew this was a significant step for Milo. However, what made Chloe happiest was not just the external changes in Milo, but the change within the dog's soul. Milo was no longer a dog that only knew how to avoid and fear. He had begun to trust both humans and other dogs. The love and patience Chloe had given Milo had finally helped the dog rediscover joy and faith in life. Milo's story became a testament to the idea that nothing is impossible if we have enough patience and genuine love. But even though Milo had learned to trust and was becoming happier, there were still moments when he would remember his painful past. Chloe realized that even though Milo had overcome most of his fears, there were times when, as a truck passed by or when a stranger entered the park, Milo would exhibit unusual reactions. The dog would suddenly stand up straight, eyes fixed and ears perked, as if trying to assess everything around him. Chloe understood that this was a sign of the anxiety and trauma that Milo couldn't fully erase, decided to continue being patient, but she also knew that Milo would need time to heal truly. Every day she spent time talking to Milo, telling him about the good things in life and about the friends he had and would continue to have. One day, Chloe decided to take Milo to a gathering of animal lovers in the town, where many people brought their pets to share their stories. There, Chloe happened to meet an older woman named Mrs. Parker, who also loved animals and had taken care of many abandoned dogs. Chloe shared Milo's story with Mrs. Parker, and the woman was deeply moved. She explained that she had once taken care of a dog like Milo, one that had been abandoned and faced immense pain. But with love and patience, that dog had finally found happiness and trust in humans again. Chloe listened to Mrs. Parker's story and felt an even stronger connection to Milo. She realized that even though there were times when Milo might return to the sadness of his past, the care and love would help him overcome everything. Milo's story was not only a lesson in patience, but also a lesson in love, forgiveness, and second chances. Chloe understood that love could heal all wounds, and she had helped Milo regain his trust in the world once more. Milo was no longer the fearful, lonely dog that Chloe had found in the box. He had become a happy, energetic dog, and most importantly, a loyal companion. Chloe not only helped Milo, but she also found a new joy and purpose in life. Every time Chloe saw Milo running happily, she remembered the early days when she wasn't sure if Milo would ever trust humans again. Now Milo trusted not only her, but also this world. His story would always serve as proof that love and patience could heal deep wounds, not only in the body, but also in the soul. Over the past months, Chloe and Milo have faced many challenges together, shared many emotional moments, and made significant progress on Milo's healing journey. Each day, she saw small but significant changes in the little dog she had nurtured with all her love and patience. Milo was no longer the scared dog that always ran away from and feared people. Instead, Milo had become a happy dog, full of life, and no longer avoided strangers or other dogs. Chloe felt that Milo had begun to rebuild his trust in life. One morning, Chloe decided to take Milo to the park as usual. The park was where Milo could run freely, interact with other mates, and enjoy the fresh air. But as they entered the park, an unexpected scene unfolded. A family was standing near the play area, and the boy in the family immediately stopped when he saw Milo. Chloe couldn't believe her eyes. The boy was Emiliano, the one Chloe had heard about many times through Milo's story. The boy stared at Milo, his eyes lighting up, and then he suddenly shouted with joy, "Milo! It's Milo!" The whole family turned to look at Milo, their faces filled with amazement and happiness. Chloe stood still, not knowing what to do. She felt an indescribable awkwardness. Emiliano ran toward her, his face flushed with emotion. "Milo, you're still alive. I can't believe my eyes," Emiliano said in a choked voice, hugging Milo. Though the dog seemed a little confused and it recognized the boy and wagged its tail in return, Chloe saw the genuine affection in the eyes of Emiliano's family. It seemed they had realized their mistake in abandoning Milo. The whole family came close to Chloe, and Emiliano's mother said, "We truly regret abandoning Milo. We didn't know that was such a big mistake. Now we want to take Milo back. It's not just out of responsibility, but because we truly love him." Her words made Chloe's heart tighten. She understood that Emiliano's family truly loved Milo. But she also knew that Milo had changed so much during his time with her. Milo was no longer the one of Emiliano's family, but a part of Chloe's life. Although Emiliano's family wanted Milo back, Chloe felt confused and didn't know what decision to make. She was facing a difficult choice. Should she let Milo return to his old family, the family that had abandoned him, or keep him with her, where he had found love and safety? Chloe couldn't escape the feeling of confusion. She knew that logically returning Milo to his old family would be a good opportunity for him, as they genuinely wanted to take care of him. But Chloe's heart couldn't deny that Milo had found a special connection with her, and she had dedicated so much effort to help Milo overcome his painful past. Chloe sat down next to Milo, gently stroking his coat, trying to find calm in this moment. Milo looked up at her, his eyes still filled with trust and affection. Chloe knew this was the moment she had to make an important decision in her life. She looked at Emiliano's family and said, her voice firm but emotional, "I understand the love you have for Milo, and I can't deny that you made a mistake when you abandoned him. But Milo has changed so much during his time with me. He doesn't just need your love. He needs stability, safety, and an environment that helps him heal the wounds in his heart," Chloe continued. "Milo is a special dog, and during these months, I've learned so much from him. But the most important thing for me is that Milo must be loved and cared for truly, whether it's with your family or with me. If you truly want Milo to come back, I believe that's the right decision, because Milo needs to live in an environment full of love." Chloe stood up and looked back at Milo, whose eyes were filled with love and loyalty. She knew that no matter where Milo went, their friendship would never fade. Chloe took a deep breath and said, "Milo will always be in my heart. And if he decides to go back to his old family, I'll never forget the wonderful memories we've had together." In the end, Milo decided to return to his old family. When Chloe handed Milo over to Emiliano, the boy hugged the dog tightly, tears streaming down his face. Milo didn't resist, but lay still in the boy's arms, as though he knew this was where he truly belonged. This sight brought Chloe a sense of relief, though her heart still ached. Emiliano's family thanked Chloe for everything she had done for Milo. They knew that taking Milo back wasn't an easy decision, but with sincerity and deep love, they promised to take care of the dog forever. Milo had finally found where he belonged, and Emiliano's family would never let him be abandoned again. Even though Milo had left, Chloe continued with her life. She continued her work at the cafe and participated in charity activities. Chloe also didn't forget to teach others in the town about love and forgiveness, that sometimes even a small act of kindness could change a life. Chloe and Milo's friendship continued even though they no longer lived together. Chloe knew that Milo would always remember her, and she would remember him too. Their story was one of patience, love, and forgiveness. It taught her the importance of patience in changing a life of unconditional love and of always allowing oneself to open their heart to help the creatures around them. Milo and Chloe's story had ended, but its impact would remain in the hearts of those who witnessed it. Love can heal wounds, and it can change a life.